Grand Rising, beloved soul family. It is your shaman, your sister in spirit, and your friend, Alicia here. Happy Monday. For those of you that don't know, I was in a 3-day immersive, intensive, immersive, that's my combination word there, coaching experience. And it was really empowering. I might talk a little bit about this later today, or later in this live. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that scheduled for donation week. It was awesome spending time with you. It was awesome being able to see how powerful, amazing, vulnerable people can be in our community. It's awesome to see how many people are ready to change, to experience change, and to like get a nice clean slate to start moving forward in their journey. So thank you so much. Be on the lookout. I definitely feel that this is something that is going to be a regular part of my schedule. Okay. So of course I have my healing play day on June 25th. It is from 11 to 7. It is a Saturday. I'm really excited about this. Especially after going through an immersive, like an intense form of healing. Like healing can be such an intense experience, especially when there's a lot of integration to work with afterward. So I want to share and explore the process of healing through play. Like I want to showcase this because sometimes it can be a lot, right? A lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, but what if it was simple? What if it was as simple as being a kid? And so for those of you that are tired of working, like healing work, come play with me. Like it's going to be a fun time and just very wholesome and straight from the heart, really allowing our inner child to come out and play. That doesn't mean that it's not going to have some like challenges, right? Like some of us, it's hard to like let go of the identity of the worker and step into the identity of the child. But I'll be sure to help allow that to come out today. So Mondays are my favorite days to dive right into stories. So today's story is called The Thief and His Son. So allowing myself just to ground here, take a couple of breaths, transitioning from announcements into moment. Okay. The Thief and His Son. There's a father and a son that sneaks into a mansion, and before they can escape, the father tricks his child and locks him in a cupboard. The residents of the mansion find the son, but he runs away. The residents are following the son, and as they are all running throughout this beautiful mansion, the son notices a well. He picks up a rock and he throws the rock down the well to trick the residents into thinking he jumped down the well. And the son returned home. He tells his father of what he had done, and his father replies, "You are ready to be a thief now." Yeah. So the thing that I love about these stories is that for each of us on our journey, it's going to allow us to unlock a different and unique thing inside of each of us. The concept that I want to invite today, and it's simply an invitation. You do not have to RSVP, okay? Is the concept of shadow work, okay? And so before we get into that, like, let's really take a moment to think about what the story had said. So here we are. I can relate to this. Here we are, being prepared for something. And we can start to make up ideas of what this is going to look like. The sun, let's just take this path here, this line. The son is going with his father to steal some goodies. We're going to go in. My father's a professional. And we're going to get out of there and have this experience. And a challenge ends up happening. You get locked in a cupboard, left to face the possibility of getting caught, of being seen, of having to face the situation fully. And who are we going to be inside of this? There are so many different paths that the son could have took. Yeah. Could have taken the path of victim. Oh no, panic, fear, could have taken all of these different paths, but instead intuitively showed up as his true self. And as each micro moment's happening, the brain, the self, is figuring out ways to survive. Now, not everybody was going to make those choices, right? Not every person would have figured out how to become who he was calling himself to be, the path that he was calling in, right? He wants to be a thief. And so how can I fully embody that which I want to be? And then showing up to that in life, right? And then coming out on the other end with success, or maybe with a few lessons that need to be learned or integrated. Does that make sense when I say that? How many of you can relate to that? We can sit back and think about who I am. I'm this. If I was in this situation, I would do this, this, and this. Carefully plotting and imagining, well, if they say this, I'm going to say this. How many of you guys have done that? If they do this, I'm going to do this. And it's all going to be exactly as I planned it to be. But then whenever we get into these situations, maybe we don't show up the way that we thought. Or maybe we do. Maybe we show up better than we could have ever imagined. And so my question is, really thinking about like who we think we will be or who we think we are, as opposed to who we actually are. And a way to really dive into that is by getting into shadow work. Okay. One of the things that I got to experience this weekend was really being able to sit down and revisit my core values. We got a comment in. I'm going to share this. I only hope I don't continue in the same wrong paths my parents chose. I love that. That's a great hope. Yeah. So then like when I see that comment, right, and I relate it back to the story, I also wonder if there are parts of us like in that thief, right? Like if my father was a thief and I got into this situation and I come out of it and I share it with him, I wonder if there's a part of me that also wants to perfect the things that my parents maybe couldn't quite reach. You know, I always tell Evelyn, I'm like, you are the evolved version of me. You're gonna be better than me. That's your job. Your job is to be better, is to take the things that maybe I am lacking in and to elevate, you know, like evolve. That is all a part of this like ancestral healing, of this family line healing, right? Is to be better. And so I love that. I love that so much, like more than you know, because this was something that really resonates with me as well. And in that, what's funny is when I think about the things that I really don't like that maybe my parents have done or that my mother has done or anybody, my friends, anybody around me, right? Um, and I judge it. This is really what shadow work is. All right. We think about all the things that other people do that we don't like, and then we have to own that we do that. We do it. It may not look exactly like how they do it, but we do it and own it. Because when we just project and say, you did that, that's bad. I don't like that. What we're doing is we're stepping out of unity and we're stepping very far, not just into duality, which is neutrality. We're stepping into like separation, to say that you are separate from me. When as spiritual beings, we all know that like ultimately we are infinite potential. Like we are it all. We are it. We are everything. We are the darkness. We are the light. And none of us are really exempt from expressing the darkness and the light. And that was one of the things that came up in the practice that we did. So how do we begin to go through the process of like fully stepping into this embodiment that people talk about? Like, oh, I love me and I love others. But then we get into situations and we're like, oh, I'm gonna cuss just so everybody's aware. So if there are children around, like, fuck this shit. Like, fuck you. Look, oh, this sucks. You suck. And then and then we get emotionally charged by it. Like, this is ridiculous. I can't handle this. Like, you do this and it drives me nuts and I just can't. This is really the basis. That's really the start of shadow work. Okay. And what we do is we take a moment and we recognize where we are also exhibiting those same behaviors. Because what it allows us to do is neutralize or bring into balance, right? That's what being neutral is, to bring into balance, to bring into harmony the truth. Not our perceived truth in the moment, not who we think, what we think is going on. We step into truth. Okay, you're doing that. I do that too. Why would I do that? I would do that because of this, and this. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep. Maybe I just genuinely didn't know. Like, we are putting ourselves in the other person's shoes because we are all one being. Does that make sense? So then once we kind of get rid of that emotional charge, then we step back fully into acceptance, which is a powerful, right, Teresa, right, self-inquiry. Just checking in with self. Hey, I do that too. I am that too. I am all. I'm all of it and I am none of it. I think that once we really step into the concept of like, I'm all of this, then we can step further also into, well, then I'm none of it. Like, it's just all experiences. It's all just choices. It's all just things, energies that are happening, that I am participating in, reactions that are happening that I am participating in. So then once we, so one of the practices that we did this past weekend was really taking an inventory, right? That self-inquiry, like Teresa had said. And we take a minute to look at all of the many facets of life. All right. So we're talking about the physical, the mental, intellectual, the emotional, the spiritual, the social, the financial, the vocational, the relationship and intimacy, environmental. There are a lot that you can cover, honestly. we mostly would say just to stick with 7. Okay. And then we take an inventory of where we are versus where we want to be. So there's that. Beyond that, what we can really do is we can think about what are our values, because sometimes we can't even figure out where we want to go without knowing who we actually are. And that's a lot of playing. It is. Sometimes I think that we should just know who we are. Yeah, I know who I am, right? If I didn't know who I was. But at the very basis of every spiritual, personal development, that is the question. Who are you? Do you know? And then we challenge that. Because sometimes we think that we are something, right? We think we're something. And we're not. Or maybe it's not what we want to be. And we go through that process by understanding. And sometimes what I'm trying to say is we are these magnificent beings, bags of flesh, that have this internal hard drive that just collects data, especially as children. Okay. So there have been a lot of times where who we have become has a lot more to do with what our parents thought, what our church said, what our community decided, what our world indoctrinations are, okay? Our dogmas are, our traditions are, and has a lot more to do with that and a lot less to do with like what I actually care about. My parents told me it was important for me to go to school and sit there for 8 hours. What's more important to me is to sit outside, to look at the clouds, to sing. That was what was more important to me. That's my value, enjoying and indulging in nature. That is not what I was told. And so there I was, after a trauma of losing my mother, getting wrapped up in an identity of achievement when that was not authentic to what I really would have preferred to do, which is not heal by excelling and hitting my goals and creating this image of whatever. I would have preferred to just like chill. I would have preferred to just be out in nature and do my thing, whatever that thing is. So for that, I'm going to be moving through this, right? I would have preferred to do that. Who we have become isn't who we are. Exactly. And that's why a lot of people talk about the unbecoming, It's not about becoming or walking towards your purpose. It's about unbecoming and stepping back into who you actually are, what you actually believe. So what shadow work would be like for me, right? Is that my natural want is to just be out in nature and just chill. But because my identity, who I had become, was a person that was identified with achievement and hitting goals and having status, I really would get irritated by people who just like would do nothing. Oh, it like would get under my skin. It's like, what are you doing? I'm not doing anything. Why not? Why? Get up and do something. There's plenty of things to do. And I would go through that path of judgment because secretly that's what I wanted to do. But I avoided it because I was too wrapped up in an identity of something else. What if you don't know who you are or what you believe? I love that question. Thank you. This is when we go and sit down and ask ourselves these questions. So let's start with like, what do you believe? And go through those 7 areas of life, right? So let's start with the physical. Your physical body, specifically, not your environment, your physical body. All right. What do you believe about the physical body? What do you think it needs? What matters to you about the physical body? Because understanding that it's going to be different for everyone. And what has other people taught you? So I'm going to share mine just for an example, okay? This is not to say that this is you. I was taught that the physical body must be in shape, must be thin, period. There was really no like nutrition, that maybe I had to exercise. Like that was what I was taught. My body needed to be thin in order to be like worthy of like, in order to not be discussed. If it was not skinny, it was the topic of discussion. Okay. Now, I lived a lot of my life like that. So I was bulimic. I was anorexic. I struggled severely with bulimia. Okay. Now, what I had to do when I went and I actually started to study the body, what I found out through knowledge was that actually the body needs certain things. Like health is what is important to me. Not look, health. So then my entire world started to shift. I didn't have to be obsessive about exercise. I didn't have to starve myself. I didn't have to binge and purge. I didn't have to do anything. What I had to do was consider my body. So I went from not knowing who I was, not taking action towards what is authentic truth for me, to now understanding that I don't mind having a little weight on me. I like my body soft. I do, I like my body strong and flexible as well. So do I need to exercise? Of course. Movement, like that is important to me. Movement is important to me. Eating healthy is important to me. Loving my body is important to me. And loving my body more comes from up in here and not from actually like looking at it. Yeah. So there's that. So I had to shift and step into my authenticity that goes against what I was told, right? If I think about style, I was very much told to cover my body. You guys always see me in a tank top, maybe with a throw over, I would have never worn anything like this before. For those of you that knew me in middle school, I wore that same damn sweatshirt every day. That big ass sweatshirt. I know you guys know what sweatshirt I'm talking about. In middle school? Because I was taught to cover my body. That was who I was. That is who I identified as until I began to sit down and say, what matters to me? Yeah. So that is just one of many ways. One of many ways is to literally sit down and take an inventory, to think about what our parents taught us as opposed to what we value, what matters to me. The other way, a lot of spiritual teachers will say, meditate. And I want to get specific on why we want to meditate. Okay. What we find is that when the brain operates on different wavelengths. Okay. So when we are in the beta wavelength, we are in processing, thinking, problem solving. I am here. I am thinking, and thinking about the bills and thinking about my kids and thinking about my husband or wife and thinking about this and thinking about my past and what about the future. That is the beta wavelength, thinking. Okay. What meditation does, and just to be very clear, that beta wavelength is also when the body is in its fight or flight stress mode. So a lot of people think like, well, I'm not having an anxiety or panic attack, so I'm not stressed. That is not necessarily true. When the body is in processing mode, it is teetered toward that stress mode. That is what stress is. Excessive processing. almost like a tiger was chasing us. I got to run here. Maybe I can run here. Maybe I can do this. Does that make sense? So, what meditation does by tapping into the breath or by tapping into one sound, maybe it's the fan running and all you're focusing on is the sound of the fan. Or maybe you're doing anapana, which is a vipassana, a breath that they teach in a vipassana, where you're just focusing how the breath feels and brushes against this area of your mouth. We are focusing rather than processing. What meditation does, and that is what it is, it's focusing on something, is it takes us out of processing mode and it will drop us down into the alpha wavelength, which is more of a creative mode. It's like, ooh, I'm feeling a little inspired here. Like I can still do things, but it's more of like going with the flow of what I feel. If we continue there, if we continue to focus and drop deeper, we're going to drop down into a theta state, which is a form of relaxation. And when we get there, you're going to notice that the mind will start to just have these little impulses that go off. I got to do this. I got to think about this. I got to think about this. Because it's so conditioned to be in that space. So when we meditate, what it allows us to do is literally separate ourselves from the thoughts that we're having. So that's why a lot of people will say, like, your thoughts are like clouds in the sky. Like, because when you start meditating regularly, you do find out that like your mind is an entirely separate thing. It's just thinking. Like the heart beats and it pumps the blood through the body. The mind thinks. It just does that. But it's hard to grasp that unless we get ourselves down into like a deeper state of being, a deeper state of relaxation. Okay. I also feel like I'm hearing to say, if you don't know who you are or what you believe, that's okay. Because you are a creator. You are a creative being. You get to decide. That just like made my heart explode. You get to decide who you want to be, and you get to decide what you believe. And isn't that phenomenal? That's how some people go from being, started from the bottom, now we're here. Like that's how they did that. They took all of these very important things about understanding the mind, understanding the spirit, the body. They took knowledge to step into their God mode, their creator mode. So please do not feel by any means that you, by not knowing yourself, that is not a good place. Because I do feel that like create from there. Who do you want to be? That's my question. Who do you feel when you were a kid? Who's deep down inside of you? What do you like? What are your passions? What matters to you? Like really, what matters to you? Do social matters mean anything to you? Do your friends mean something to you? What about your family? What do you like to eat? What do you like to participate in? Do you like music? What kind of music do you like listening to? When we start narrowing down and focusing on these little things, I love being in the car. I love driving. Gas prices are terrible. I love being outside, and I can see myself as a kid always being outside singing to the sky. I still love doing that. My neighbors still catch me outside singing to the moon because I like it. I'm not hurting anyone. Let me be me. Right? I love different kinds of, I love down to like straight up gangster rap, like with cussing and like profanities. and everything in between. So don't be shy to sit down and like ask. And if no answers come up, take a step back and revisit it later. I don't think that for any reason that we should get stuck on like, I'm going to give this example. If I got mad right now, fine. So just because I don't know something right now doesn't mean I'm never going to know anything. It just means that in this moment, I don't know. But I'm curious to find out. And I'm curious to ask myself some questions. Okay. I hope that was helpful. Get a hold of me. Let's see. Let me ask some questions. Like, that's what a coach does, right? I have plenty of questions that can kind of open this up. So don't be afraid to like reach out. And if I'm tying it back to the story, we can sometimes create an illusion of who we are inside of the mind. So don't be afraid to like think of certain situations and think about how you showed up in these situations, because I think that when we are actively participating in life, that's when we really show up. Sure, I would love to be a certain kind of mom, but like, what kind of mom am I actually? You know, I would love to be a certain kind of entrepreneur, but how do I show up? Like, how do I actually show up as that? And when I look at these things, then I can take an inventory of how my actions are revealing what my true belief systems are. And then from that space, if I want to change them, then all I have to do is change my actions, which sounds easy, but it can be a little bit deeper of work than that, because then we really have to figure out what's holding us back from doing that. Like, what are the self-sabotaging techniques that are coming forward in that, which is all stuff that we do in the programs that I have as well. Actually, if you take a look on my Podia site, I do have a free 5-day challenge. And on one of those days, we do cover all of this stuff. Okay. So and it's very light. It's very I don't want to say superficial, because it can definitely unlock some stuff if you commit to going through the worksheets that are provided. But we do go through the 7 areas of life. We go through self-sabotaging techniques. We go through a few things. Okay. Just throwing that out there for you. Thank you all so much for being here with me. I never know what's going to come out. I just set my intention, and today's intention was to share the story of the thief and his son, and to invite the concept of our thoughts, as always. You know, who we think we are versus how we show up, right? That's what I would prefer this to say. Who we think we are, what we think we do versus how we actually show up in our lives. I really wanted to invite the concept of, again, shadow work, which is just really recognizing when we are looking at people or parts of our own lives, like parts of ourselves that we just like don't like, and going through the process of owning that. I've actually considered like going through a couple of days where I embody the things that I hate the most, where I like purposefully try to act like that all day. It makes me deeply uncomfortable, but I feel like it will help me understand it a little better, like develop a relationship with that. I don't know. What do you guys think of that? Like, to like something that I already am, that I'm just hiding from the rest of the world, you know? It sounds super uncomfortable. Interesting concept. Yeah. Like, what if I just raged out? What if I spent an entire day raging out, hulking out? What if I spent an entire day judging people? What if I spent an entire day? I don't know. It sounds like it would dig up a lot of stuff. I can already feel it in my body, but I also feel like it would help me own how I show up, how I would uniquely express the spirit of rage. I can't see you being that. Oh, people that know me, people that have experienced me know that I can rage out. But it's different. Like, it's like my energy, like my energy, people can feel it. So when I get real upset, it's just like it's uncomfortable to be around me because people are so used to me being soft and bright. So when I'm upset, it's just like I'm very off and repelled. I think it would feel good and open your mind at the end of the day, but definitely be uncomfortable in the moment. Yes, right? I agree. If I end up doing it, I will definitely try to document it and share it with you all. Let's give you guys some feedback. I love to play. I'm my favorite client. I'm my first and favorite client. So I got to push myself out of my comfort zone sometimes so that way I can show up for me, and it might help everyone else. I'm really doing all this healing for me at the end of the day because I need it and I deserve it. And because I really believe that for all of you too. Like, I really believe that you guys deserve to heal, that you beautiful human beings deserve to heal and to love yourself no matter what, in your light and in your darkness. Well, that is it for me today. You being judgy and mean all day is what I mean. I can't see you being that. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll have to show up one day like that. I'm just thinking of like, oh, my sister. If you asked my sister, I'm sure she'd have stories to tell. But I do think that my mean is a little different. It's still equally as uncomfortable, but like I definitely try. I definitely hold my tongue. I've learned to hold my tongue. My grandmother always said, if you do not have something nice to say, don't say it at all. But if we look at research based off of Dr. Emoto, it is better to just say the mean thing than not say anything at all. Have you guys seen that rice experiment? It's like they have a jar of wet rice and you talk nice to it. You have a jar of rice that you ignore, and then you have a jar of rice that you say mean things to. And the rice that was the most disgusting, that's the only word that comes to mind, was the rice that was ignored. Even bad and nothing. And I feel about of us were taught to like just turn off. Oh, that messes with my head when I think about it. I'm like, wow, it would have been better for me this and just hold it in my body and act like it doesn't exist. And like there is an entire experiment based off of that concept. And thinking about our kids, right? It's better just to say like, that was wrong. Ooh, what you did was wrong. Or to maybe yell at them, to just ignore them and act like they don't exist. That is more damaging. What? So that might be a concept that I'm within my stuff. I'm like, anything. Yeah, but science. Science and experience shows that it is a lot damaging. I can feel it in my heart space, even when I say it. All right. Siblings are different. are their greatest test. And she actually sent me a TikTok thing. It's a famous TikTok where the guy's walking around. It's like, and like he's walking into every room, and the sign says, "Me on my way to annoy my older sibling." I'm like, and I love it because she shows me that even when I am the most annoyed, that I'm still lovable. And that makes me extremely emotional to even say that. So I'm so grateful for a sister that annoys the shit out of me. She gets even and judgy, that I'm still completely lovable. And so much so that it is even enjoyable to evoke that out of me. Like, what the fuck is that? It's like, I love you being annoyed so much that I'm going to do it multiple times a day, every day. Like, wow. Thank you for loving that part of me, because it was definitely a part of me that I have been rejecting for a long time. Okay. Enjoy this eclipse energy. Enjoy the retrograde energy. Chaos is the catalyst to clarity. So do not be afraid to sink and to dive deep into any sort of like chaotic energy that might be present, because it can be alchemized into order. Chaos can be alchemized. Yeah, transform. That's definitely, I love so much. Please take some deep breaths. I'll take one more with you. Shake it out. And I'll see you all soon. Maybe Wednesday. We'll see. All right. Peace and love. Bye.